Hello, this is Kristen Atkins with Impressing Minds, and today I'm going to come to you and discuss the interview process, of the first part of the interview process. I'm not going to get into actual questions quite yet. This is more about the areas of assessment that the interviewer or the writer will check on. So there's several areas that they want to ensure that you are the right person for the position, the job. Not necessarily that it's a job, as in a typical job, but they want to make sure you're the right person to do this. So there are 12 areas that are assessed. And the first one, and this can vary, again, state by state, but in general, these would be areas any state would evaluate. They might not break them up in this particular way. They may not break them up into these 12 specific areas, but overall, they would assess these in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Number one would be your attitudes and beliefs regarding foster care and adoption issues. So this would be, do you know the difference between foster care and adoption, and the difference between wanting to foster and wanting to adopt? And do you know why you're getting into this situation? What is your goal? Do you view yourself as a resource family for the foster care system, for those children who need foster care? Or are you wanting to expand your family by adopting from the state? Are you a good, strong advocate and support for the children's well-being? Do you agree with permanency as a goal? Those kinds of things. What are your attitudes and beliefs? The second one is your motivation to foster or adopt. What is your motivation? Have you been dealing with infertility and so you want to adopt to fulfill a need in your own life? Or are you wanting to fulfill a desire to help rescue some children, or rescue a child who may have a less than ideal situation? What is your motivation? They're going to assess that. Why do you want to foster or adopt right now? Why are you waiting until now to do it? Have you recently encountered someone else who has fostered or adopted? And that's your motivation. So they're going to try and ask you questions to make you think. You may not even have all the answers yourself right at this point. So these questions that they're going to ask are not punitive at all. There's no right or wrong answers. They're just trying to help you figure out and help them figure out your motivation. The third area is your personal and emotional maturity. So you have to be able to put someone else's needs above your own. If you have children already, you know that that is a fact. You have to put their needs above your own needs, especially if they're very, very small and they can't hardly do anything by themselves. You would have to have that kind of self-sacrifice attitude, a self-sacrificing attitude. You would have to be mature enough emotionally to handle not getting your way all the time. And, so you have to think about, are you emotionally mature enough to add on more work, more responsibility into your household and family? Number 4, a stability and quality of interpersonal relationships. So, for example, do you have healthy relationships, interpersonal relationships? If you're married, if there's a 2-parent home, is that marriage stable? If there are teenagers in the house already, are those relationships stable? A teen who sneaks out at night, and you're going to bring in another teenager that's the same age. How are they going to influence that? Do you have enough influence over your own teen to ensure that they are going to follow the rules, make less of someone else who comes in? Do you have that kind of relationship, a good relationship with the ones that are already, in your household? Number 5 is coping skills and a history of stress management. How do you handle stress? They're going to get to the bottom of a stressful day. What do you do? How do you handle that? I remember the interviewer asking me, what do you do after a long, stressful day at work? And I went, I go out to eat. We go out to eat as a family. We go out to eat. I'm just not going to cook. That's just what we do. I just go out to eat. That didn't happen after we added more children on. We didn't go out to eat hardly at all after that, but that was the way I dealt with a stressful day at work. So they would just ask you that because you have to be able to cope and manage your own stress before you can take on someone else's stress. You're actually taking on that child's stress, their anxiety, their problems into your own home. And so you're going to have to deal with your own stuff, personally, and make sure that that's taken care of so that you can help a child and, someone who doesn't understand everything that's going on. They don't understand their feelings that they're having. You're going to have to help them deal with their stress and help them cope with the things going on. And so they don't need to see you coping. You need to help them cope. So the next one is the level of openness in family relationships. So the level of openness would be, are you open to community and professional services if needed? If you're having trouble, are you willing to seek counseling? Are you willing to be open and honest with a social worker while she's there? If you're not open about things, they're not, they might, but they won't want to let you, have a foster child in your home if you're being deceptive or you're not being completely open and honest with them. Another area, this is area number 7, is your parenting skills and abilities. So they're going to make sure through various techniques that your parenting skills are up to par. Are you able to properly care for the children that you have in the home right now? And then what level are you able to nurture, discipline, and guide the other children that may be coming into your home that have other problems, major problems? Are you going to be able to guide them age appropriately? If you've only had younger children, are you going to be able to handle a teen or a preteen? They're going to ask you questions regarding your parenting style, definitely, and abilities. The next one is the ability to empathize. This is huge. I actually did a whole video on my personal top 5 qualities of a person that would be considering fostering, and empathy was one of them, because you have to be able to put yourself in the shoes of a child who has come from trauma and has been taken from their home, the only home they've ever known, and dropped off pretty much at your house, or maybe even taken from their home and dropped off here, and then dropped off there, and then dropped off here before they got to your house. So you have to have empathy and understand that when they are crying and you can't figure out why, or they're having a breakdown, you can't understand why. They may not even understand why. So you have to be able to empathize with all those feelings and say, we're going to work through this, and you have to have empathy, realizing that they don't have typical childhoods, that they didn't have a childhood like you have. Number 9, I'm probably going to read understanding of entitlement issues. So the adoptive parents or foster parents' ability to accept that they have the full rights, responsibilities to parent a child not born to them. So that would mean that you are responsible for parenting the child. You are entitled to parent and oversee and protect that child, even though they may not be specifically in your custody, they're not your child. You have to take kind of ownership over parenting and teaching and training of that child. You have to make important decisions on their behalf and intervene at times. For example, you may have to go to the school if there's a problem. You would be the one to go up and defend that child. You would have to go up and be the one that meets with the principal. You'd have to meet with the teacher. You have to be involved and entitled and put yourself out there as the advocate for that child. You have to believe that you have the right and responsibility to facilitate age and developmentally appropriate experiences for the child. So not only are you going to intervene when necessary, you're going to bring them into your home, treat them like your own child. You're going to treat them as if they were born to you. You're going to give them the experiences that are typical for children. For example, dance classes, soccer, baseball, basketball, all those kinds of things, music lessons, whatever your other children are doing or whatever their interests are, you're going to try and facilitate those as the parent. The next one, number 10, is the ability and willingness to take a hands-on approach to parenting. So instead of verbally telling and telling and telling, this is my problem. Instead of telling and telling and telling the child, do this or do that or do this or do that, you model it for them. So instead of saying, here are your chores, here's a list of chores, and go do these, you would say, come on, I'm going to show you how to do your chores. This is your list, and you're going to do these 4 things, and then after dinner every day, this is what you're going to do. Let me show you how to do that. And so you progressively model more and more things to give the child more and more independence. So you are giving them a hands-on parenting approach, and so that they can learn while they're at your house also. Many of them haven't had chores to do. Many of them haven't had play time where they can just play. So you may need to have some instruction on playing and sharing and how to take care of toys. Many of them have not had those experiences. So at your house, there may be toys they've never been accustomed to having, and so they don't know how to play. I remember one time I had a boy, and we got those big tubes with the animals inside, and so instead of playing like, pretending like he was the animals, he was just taking them and throwing them everywhere. And so I actually, it's not like me at all. Like, I don't like to get on the floor, but I got on the floor and had to pretend I was the giraffe or whatever, and pretended back and forth. So we have to teach them with a hands-on approach. 11 is the ability to make and honor commitments. So this would mean that you see the child as a family member and you make commitments. This category includes the exploration of long-term identity issues common to adoptees and children in foster care. It would mean something like making sure that their ethnicity and their role in your house is not overlooked. So you wouldn't pretend that they were born to you if they were adopted when they're 6 years old. You would always have this as a part of their story. You would make and honor commitments that would say you were from the foster care system, you came out of the foster care system, and we're going to honor that part of your story. And we're going to give you future education, we're going to give you self-sufficiency, a family connection, and so on and so forth. And the last area that they're going to assess is your religious affiliation and your personal belief systems. So, of course, the social workers and family services are going to want to make sure that you're not some child sacrificing religion, and you treat children with respect and love and appreciation, and some part of your religion doesn't say it's okay to do X, Y, and Z to children. So they just want to make sure that if you have religious beliefs, that they're okay. Also, if the child's old enough, they may have their own religious beliefs in foster care. So, for example, excuse me, if you have a foster child who was reared Catholic and they come to your house and you all are Pentecostal, how are you going to mesh those two, or how are you going to give that child their religious affiliation background? So, are you going to keep that, or are you going to try and persuade them otherwise? You need to come up with a plan for that, and the social worker is one that could kind of work with you to figure things out like that. You need to be willing to accommodate those children, though, especially when they're older and they've already established the fact that they want to be Catholic. You're going to have to kind of be willing to accommodate certain things for them. So those are the 12 assessment categories that this one information packet that I have tells me that they're going to assess. And I thought I would just do an overview, a general overview of everything that they're going to try and check. So I hope that you got something out of this. I hope that you like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe and comment. If there's one of these that you don't understand or you need more clarification, just let me know and I will write further things in the comments. So the next video will be all about the interview, when the social worker, the child services person comes to the home and they're actually sitting at the dining room table with you. What do you need to know? That'll be coming up next in the next video. So thank you for watching to the very end. Have a great day and God bless.